And for that breaking news that we got you earlier in the bulletin as well, the government is in fact thinking of cutting short the budget session. It's likely to prorogue the parliament after the 20th of March. Stiff opposition is likely to be the reason that could perhaps force the BJP to rethink. Is this the government's land war strategy? Now remember, if the government is to re-promulgate these ordinances, then it will have to be done before the 5th of April. The House is likely to be adjourned sine die. That's the latest coming in as far as developments in the parliament are concerned. All right, we have our executive editor Javed Ansari on the phone line. Javed, what has actually forced the government to think along these lines?
Well, the primary reason behind the government's thinking is that some of these ordinances will lapse, and in case they are not passed during this session. The land acquisition bills being the land acquisition ordinance being one of them, and therefore the government is forced to take this, is thinking of taking this route, because the land acquisition bill has run into stiff opposition in the upper house. It cannot, with just 4 days left now, it cannot possibly be passed. As also there are also problems with the mining minerals as well as the coal ordinances, because they've gone to the standing committee. The standing committee has to send them back, and just in case they send it with amendments, then it will have to go back to the cabinet. From the cabinet, it goes back to the Lok Sabha and then comes to the Raj Sabha. So therefore, there is very little time, and perhaps that's the reason which has prompted the government to think along those lines. A final decision, however, in the matter is still awaited.
Javed, for the benefit of our viewers, if you could just tell us, the factual position as far as the procedure in Parliament is concerned. I believe that this particular session, the budget session of Parliament, is divided in 2 parts. So technically, can the bill not go to the second part of the budget session?
No, the bill can certainly go to the second part of the session, but the ordinances, these are all ordinances which are being converted into bills and then being passed. Now, that process is incomplete. By a certain date, like the land acquisition bill lapses on the 4th or 5th of April. And therefore, if it is not converted into a bill and passed, then it will have to be re-promulgated. And an ordinance cannot be re-promulgated while Parliament is in session. And hence the need to cut short this session, to put an end to this session on the 20th, and then reconvene, then call a fresh session to pass the
Right.
budget and the finance bill sometime in May.
Absolutely. Javed, do stay on with us. We have constitutional expert Subhash Kashyap also on the phone line. Mr. Kashyap, many thanks for joining us here on Headlines today. If you could just explain the procedure as well as the technicalities, why the government could be thinking on the lines of perhaps adjourning the House sine die.
The constitutional provision in Article 123 provides that an ordinance be issued by the President when both houses of Parliament are in session, which means when the houses of Parliament are in session, ordinance cannot be issued. So if the ordinance has to be issued, the houses have to be prorogued. At least one of the 2 houses has to be prorogued.
All right, we'll try coming back to Mr. Subhash Kashyap. There seems to be some problem in that audio connection with Mr. Kashyap, but I believe Atir Khan is also joining us on the phone line at this moment. Atir, now since it will have to be re-promulgated, these ordinances which lapse on 5th of April, what Javed was actually explaining was that ordinance can be re-promulgated only when the Parliament is not in session. So that seems to be the government's strategy, since there is not enough time available. That is why it will have to ensure that the houses are adjourned sine die and then the proroguing process takes place.
Well, that's right, Sanket. To avoid any sort of embarrassment, the government took an extraordinary way of, of bringing in an ordinance. So therefore, it wants to continue with its stand. We know that the government is willing of proroguing either one or both the houses. They know that this land bill is quite contentious And given the stand of the opposition on this bill, it is of the view that it is unlikely that will be cleared in the upper house. So therefore, the possibility of now the budget session being held in two parts, and the government re-promulgating this either after proroguing one house or both houses on 20th of March.
All right, Atif, do stay on with us. In fact, what is the political side to this particular decision that the government is considering? We would like to repeat for the benefit of our viewers that the decision has not been taken by the government. The government is mulling. It is thinking or contemplating that it should take this particular decision.